We've all been there, right? We all face times in our lives that just feel completely overwhelming. Today, we're going to explore a really powerful idea for getting through those moments, and our guide is going to be this beautiful, profound parable. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation that was so tough, it just felt like it was never, ever going to end? A kind of pain or a loss that just stretches out in front of you like this impossibly long road? Well, if you have, just know that's a deeply human feeling. You're definitely not alone in that. You know, one way to think about these struggles is to see them as seasons, like a long, cold winter. The days feel short, everything seems kind of gray, and it's so hard to even imagine that the warmth of spring is going to come back. But here's the thing. Just like the seasons on our planet, the seasons in our lives, they also have to change. To really get a handle on this, we're going to turn to an ancient Buddhist parable. It's this incredible story about three men. Each one is carrying a really heavy burden, and they all happen to meet the Buddha on a path in the forest. And what happens in these encounters, well, it reveals a powerful secret about suffering, and really about how we see it. So the first man the Buddha meets is just filled with despair. He explains how he used to have everything, wealth, happiness, easy life, but the people he trusted deceived him. Now he's lost it all and he feels absolutely wretched. He asks the Buddha, how much longer does he have to suffer like this? The Buddha just points to a mango tree nearby and gives his answer. The man looks up and he sees dozens and dozens of mangoes hanging there, and his heart just sinks. You can imagine, right? Every single one of those mangoes represents another lifetime of his pain. To him, it feels like this impossibly long, cruel sentence, especially because he feels like he's lived a good life. It just feels so unjust. Continuing on his way, the Buddha meets a second man. Now his pain is different, but it's just as deep. He's lost his entire family, everyone he has ever loved. He is completely, utterly alone, and his life just feels hollow, full of anguish. And he asks that very same question, how much longer? This time, the Buddha points to a field of wild flowers, and the man looks, and he doesn't see dozens of things. He sees hundreds of flowers, and his despair just gets deeper. He feels like he's done good deeds, he's followed the teachings, and yet his path to freedom seems even longer, even more painful than the first man's. And this brings us to the real turning point of the story. The Buddha comes across a third man, and this final encounter is the one that changes everything. So this third man, he's a toiler. He lives in extreme poverty. He works like a slave all day under the hot sun, and at night he just sleeps on the cold, damp grass. His life is just this constant, grinding hardship. He falls to his knees and asks the Buddha the exact same question. The Buddha looks up at this massive tamarind tree, and its branches are just covered in thousands upon thousands of these tiny leaves. And he gives his answer. Just imagine that for a second. Not dozens of mangoes, not hundreds of flowers, but countless leaves, a number so huge it feels truly eternal. But here is where the story pivots. The man looks at the thousands of leaves, and his eyes, they don't fill with despair. They fill with tears of gratitude, of joy. How merciful, he says, because for the first time, his suffering has been given a number. It's a huge number, sure, but it's a finite number. He can finally see an end. So what is going on here? Why such a dramatically different reaction? His suffering was immense, and the number he was given was the largest of them all. The secret, it turns out, isn't about how long the pain lasts. It's all about the perspective of the person going through it. So let's break this down. And right here, this is the key difference. See, the first two men were counting. They saw each mango, each flower, as another agonizing step they had to get through. Their focus was on the end point, which made the journey itself feel like an eternity. But the third man, he saw the leaves as a whole. He wasn't counting them. He was accepting the entire journey. He saw the whole cycle, and that's what made 1,000 lifetimes feel like a single definable moment. And that's the heart of the lesson. Suffering is going to happen, that's a given in life, but it's our response to it that defines our experience. By shifting our perspective, we can completely transform our relationship with hardship. It's not about pretending the pain isn't there, it's about changing how we frame the whole thing. This is why the tamarind tree is such a powerful symbol. The leaves were so numerous that trying to count them was just pointless. It was impossible. And that impossibility forced the man to stop counting every individual moment of pain and instead to just accept the entire season of his struggle. He finally understood that just like the leaves on a tree, his suffering was part of a natural cycle, and a cycle that is ultimately finite. Okay, so how do we take this ancient wisdom and actually apply it to our own lives right now? Let's try to turn this parable into a practical, reflective exercise. This is all about you finding your own tamarind tree perspective, especially when you're in the middle of your own personal winter. All right, first, just gently to yourself, name the struggle you're facing. Then, think about your mangoes or your flowers. What are you counting? Is it the days, the setbacks, the lonely nights? Those are the things that make the journey feel so incredibly long. And finally, and this is the most important step, try to discover your leaves. What new viewpoint, what different angle could help you see this struggle not as an endless series of painful moments, but as one whole, single season that will eventually pass. Ultimately, this parable is a beautiful reminder that no season lasts forever. Just as the darkest hour of night always gives way to the dawn, our times of hardship will eventually pass. The question for us then isn't just, when will this end? But maybe it's, how can I find a perspective that makes the season bearable? And maybe